people who leave conversations open forever.
Today, we're talking about people who leave conversations open forever. Not because they're rude, not because they're busy, but because they never really close anything. The conversation starts normally, a message, a reply, a few exchanges, and then it slows down. No goodbye, no conclusion, no clear ending. Just silence, with the chat still sitting there, waiting.
The message isn't ignored. That's the strange part. It's read, it's seen, sometimes it even gets a reaction, but it never gets resolved. The conversation doesn't end. It doesn't move forward. It just stays there, open. And that creates a new kind of uncertainty. You don't know if the silence means I'll reply later. You don't know if it means I don't want to continue. You don't know if you should send another message or leave it alone. So you hesitate, because following up feels awkward and not following up feels unfinished. The conversation becomes a question mark that lives on your phone. Not loud, not dramatic, just quietly present.
Leaving conversations open feels polite. It avoids saying no. It avoids explaining. It avoids closing doors. No one has to disappoint anyone. No one has to commit. No one has to take responsibility for an answer. And because nothing explodes immediately, the habit feels harmless. But it quietly shifts the emotional weight to the other person. They're the one waiting. They're the one wondering. They're the one replaying the last message in their head. The silence isn't neutral. It just feels that way to the person who stopped replying. And over time, this becomes a pattern. Not because people are intentionally careless, but because avoidance is easier than clarity. Over time, this changes how people communicate. Questions get shorter, replies become safer, invitations stop being sent altogether. Not because people don't care, but because they've learned not to expect answers. When conversations don't end, people stop starting new ones. They save energy, they lower expectations, they assume silence before it happens. And slowly, communication becomes lighter, but also emptier. Nothing is clearly rejected. Nothing is clearly accepted. Everything just floats.
Eventually, no one questions it anymore. Open conversations become normal. Silence becomes acceptable. Clarity becomes optional. People stop asking what happened. They stop expecting follow-ups. They stop waiting for closure. Not because it feels good, but because it feels familiar. And familiar things rarely get questioned. The habit survives not because it works, but because everyone has adapted to it. And maybe that's why this behavior feels so invisible. It doesn't hurt immediately. It doesn't cause arguments. It doesn't create conflict. It just slowly removes meaning. And when meaning disappears quietly, no one notices when it's gone. They just stop asking.
Who approved this?